Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Dr. V's Motivational Monday, a video series on self-regulation and effective learning strategies where our goal is to learn how to learn. Because after all, guys, learning should be fun. And something that I have noticed recently with students that I think is making learning less fun, but it's because this has become normalized, is this passive absorption mentality that students come into the classroom with. And the reason we have this idea of passive absorption is that our phones, that's what it feeds to us, right? When we're on our social media and we're scrolling through things, we're not putting a lot of active resources into what we're looking at. We're passively absorbing the content. But in the classroom, we need to avoid passive absorption. And remember that learning is not a spectator sport. This is not something that you can just watch from the sidelines. Because if you give into passive absorption where you learn without taking in information because you're not doing anything active with it, you're not giving any time to reflect on it. You're not giving any time to apply it. You're focusing on just listening or reading or watching and just going through the motions, right? And so this is going to be common if you're listening to a video but not taking notes on it. Are you really gaining the content? And so when you approach learning through passive absorption, you're actually only retaining about 5% of what it is that you're trying to learn, right? So if you're watching a mini lecture for something and you're only giving passive absorption, if you're just listening to it passively, you're only going to absorb 5% of that content. That is not enough. So in this video, we're going to talk about what you can do both in your online classes and your offline classes to avoid passive absorption by doing things that are more active, such as participating in the discussions, applying what you've learned, and teaching others. So in an offline environment, when it comes to participating in discussions, a way that you can avoid passive absorption is to really make sure that you're focusing on turn taking and that you're listening to the other people, that you're practicing active listening, right? So you're nodding and you're understanding and you're giving them eye contact because that's going to demonstrate that you are actually taking in that material. That's different than sitting there waiting to say the one thing that you've pre-planned and then going back to thinking about or working on whatever's in your personal device. You want to make sure that you build from the ideas of others. One of my favorite things to hear during a discussion is just like so-and-so said, or building from what so-and-so said, because that demonstrates you're not passively absorbing. You should ask thoughtful questions. Most of my assignments involve writing down questions because this demonstrates active learning. Okay, actively thinking about that material. And in those discussions, you should provide evidence. You should always be in the habit of linking it back to where your ideas came from. Online, you should still engage in discussions. You should make sure that you actually engage in discussions, right? That your responses to peers are substantive, that they give some kind of answer or response that extends it. You should refer to the course materials. Even if your instructor doesn't say it explicitly, you should get into that habit to demonstrate your own active learning. You should use multimedia elements. I love when students link to things and include hyperlinks because that really is the future. That's where we're at right now. You should follow netiquette. You should make sure that you're using proper online procedures and etiquette. You can use emojis and emoticons and things like that, but you should do so strategically. You should not overwhelm us with them. And you should summarize key points from other people, right? So read over other people's or listen to other people's responses and summarize those. To apply what you've learned, you should create physical projects. Offline, you can solve real world problems. So like in the classroom, you can do some fun things, right? Where you can apply what you've learned. If they give you an option between writing a paper and making something, maybe making something is more active. You should reflect on your experiences. Guys, learning is part action and part reflection, so we can't avoid that part. You should actively demonstrate your skills. So if you're asked to do something something that shows a skill, make sure you do so. You should participate in service learning, go out into the community and help others. Online, create digital projects, complete simulations. There's tons of online simulations you can look up. Demonstrate your skills virtually. You can still do that. If they give you the option between a video and a post, make a video. You should participate in internships. And again, you should also reflect on your experiences. And then to teach others, explain specific concepts, lead a discussion, give a formal presentation, role play a scenario, or host a review session. These are all ways that you can use the offline world and the ability to communicate with one another to teach one another. Online, you can record video tutorials if people are really struggling with something. You can offer extra help or guidance if you notice somebody's not getting something. You can answer questions that your classmates pose or develop and share interactive items, and also provide feedback to your peers directly and say what things they're doing well and what things you think they can work on. All of these are going to help create active learning environments. Because what happens, guys, when we actively learn, when we stop thinking of learning as a spectator sport, we go from learning only 5% to 50, 75, and perhaps even 90% of the content becomes absorbed, depending on the strategies that we're employing. So it is worth it to engage actively. That is everything I've got for this episode of Dr. V's Motivational Monday. If you'd like a say in the materials produced on this channel, go ahead and scan this QR code. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, everybody.